Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fumey, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the co-founders of Grit and Grind Coffee, Destiny and Eric Rowell. Guys, how are you?
We're great, so man. Good to see you.
Awesome. Great to have you on the show. So, all right, who's going to go first? Tell us about Grit and Grind Coffee. How did this whole thing start up?
Yeah, so Grit and Grind Coffee was one of those things where we just identified a pain point in our community. But before that, we had no kind of vision. We had no idea that we were going to start a coffee brand. We were into real estate, and we genuinely enjoyed real estate because we are creators. We're builders. We like to go and take something and, we're very visionaries. So create something and make it new, whether that's a fix and flip or whatever that looks like. So we were in the real estate game and we were happy with that. We did not want to start a business, right?
Okay.
We kind of frowned away from that. But after COVID, around 2022, those real estate properties that we typically would go buy one or two a year, they dried up and they were not available. So me and Destiny had this bucket of money and we was like, we need to do something with this, right? And we started researching, and we're firm believers, like, I want to have multiple exit strategies and I want to have plan A, B, C, D, whatever it looks like. And one of the things that we started looking at was mobile coffee trucks. So we was like, hey, I don't have to go. Number one is our community didn't have a coffee shop in it. And I loved coffee. So we were solving that need, number one. Number two is, we was like, hey, how can we do this at a more conservative rate? I don't want to risk all of my dollars and going to buy a brick and mortar and having a 5-year lease. So that led us to coffee trucks, and mobile coffee trailers specifically is what we got started in. And something that we thought was going to be a part-time gig very quickly turned into our main gig.
We both had real jobs, we said. And I remember vividly, day one, we opened and I look at Eric, I'm like, what do we do tomorrow? Like, the people are going to be here. We sold out of everything. Like, it was lines. It was so awesome. And we're like, we have to go to work tomorrow. What are we going to do? Like, we didn't plan for day two. We only planned up to that far. So.
Oh my gosh. Were you guys equally supportive of this venture?
Yes, I think we were both all in, and that's just everything we do. It's either white or black with Eric and I. But what's so funny is I never drank or made coffee in my entire life until we said, let's do this. And that was like June 2nd, 2022. I went to Walmart and I bought a coffee pot and I went to who are now my competitors and I bought a bag of beans, and I came home and I tried to figure it out. And now I teach people how to make the best coffee in town, which is pretty ironic.
What did you do first to start the business? I mean, you knew nothing about a coffee business. Take us back to the beginning on starting this thing up.
Yeah, whenever we were thinking about it, first thing we needed to do is like, okay, how do we make specialty coffee? Because we're doing our due diligence phase. And in the due diligence phase, we're looking at, okay, well, if we go the mobile route, we can get started. And if things don't work out, guess what? I'll take all my coffee equipment and I'll sell it to somebody for a lawn service trailer. So I had a pros and cons list, and everything was on there. Basically, what's my exit strategy? And once I figured that piece out, it was like, how do I make specialty coffee? Because I didn't want to compete with Hardee's that was in our town, right? And you can go to all these gas stations and Hardee's and things like that to get coffee, but we really wanted to make sure that we had a different product in our market, and that was specialty coffee. So we immediately immersed ourselves into reaching out to other people that had coffee businesses. We paid for consultations. We paid for coaching services. We paid one coffee business to just let us come in and like see how the operations worked. So step one was figuring out what specialty coffee was and how do we create it.
That's funny because that's what Eric remembers, but this will show you how completely polar opposite we both are. I am very much right brain, creative, visualizing every aspect. Eric is very much analytical. He is very relationship based, and so of course he remembers all those. Immediately went to the drawing board. I was like, who is my ideal client? What do they want to wear for merchandise? What attracts them? What font are they attracted to? What is our brand voice going to be? That was like, and it was really neat because we immediately divided and conquered, and that's our little secret power. Like, he's got his strengths, I've got my strengths, I have my weaknesses. It just happens to be his strengths, and so we kind of go further faster like that.
Wow. So you guys really do complement each other perfectly. Who came up with the name?
That was me, and it took forever. It was like naming my child.
It really is, right? Yeah.
It is. It was easier to name my child, honestly. I remember sitting with Eric's family and we had a drawing board, and like, I, of course, eliminated to like 25 names, and we were doing like the gathering and the table, and we wanted to create this. And I was like, how can I show up every day on social media, because that's just how the world is today, and just be authentically myself? I don't have to pretend to be a brand. I don't have to be a face that I'm not. Like, how can I show up just as me every day? And same with Eric, because he's pretty much the other half of this. And so we've came across, I'm the grit and Eric is the grind. That's just who we are. Even if you strip away all the coffee, like, he is just nose down grinding, no matter if it's P&Ls or real estate, whatever it is. And I'm just in it for the long run. My dad used to call me his pearl, and I never really realized what it meant until we got into the name thing. And I looked up, I really like the word grit. What does it mean? Beautiful example. And it's just whenever a piece of sand or a piece of grit gets into an oyster, and that oyster develops this kind of coating over the piece of sand or grit. And what we see is a pearl, this beautiful, valuable thing. But to the oyster, it's aggravating, it's dark. And they go through a little while of aggravation, and it turns out to be something beautiful. And I've realized that's just my life. That's just how it is. It's always glass half full kind of thing. And so we get asked that a lot, and I always love telling that story.
Wow. Destiny, you've given such great coaching advice, by the way, to founders that are starting up or people that are aspiring to open a business. So that's phenomenal. Eric, what do you want to add to that?
I just want to say, that this whole journey, like Destiny kind of mentioned, basically it's us focusing on what we're good at. And we've done that really well. For the most part, she has superpowers that I don't necessarily have, and vice versa. And if we would have both been the same, we would have never been able to accomplish the things we've been able to accomplish.
So what was life like when you first started the business? It opens up. Now what happens next?
It was a blur. That's what it was. Yeah. It was a grind because, our journey is a little bit different. Like, everything was very organic. We didn't go into a plan and say, hey, we're going to be this national franchise. We just started to solve a need in our community. That went really well. Somebody reached out to us and they said, hey, I see what you're doing on social media. It looks amazing. Will you coach me on how to start my own coffee trailer? And us being us, we said, absolutely, So we jumped on that phone call and started talking to them. By the time we got done with that phone call, we turned into our first license agreement. So we did a license deal, and we did 2 or 3 of those license deals, and we eventually became a franchise. But it was this journey that we went on that was very organic. Like, there was no kind of like hidden agenda or what we're looking to do. One thing led to another, and it was really all about trying to help others. And that's what our core values are and who we are. It's love others, spread light, work hard. And we've realized that if we just walk out those values every day, and they're not this catchphrase on our social media handle, then business, money, all the other, prosperous things, they just fall into place and come.
Destiny, what do you remember when you first opened the business? Was it insane?
It was wild because everything up until this point, like, I felt like I had all the tools from previous jobs, education, college to do what needed to be done. And here I go into something that I have no clue about, like absolutely zero knowledge, not even taste buds for it. And so I look back and I'm like, why did I not have imposter syndrome like a lot of us have, where you compare and contrast? And I look back and I think it was just me stepping into my calling. And everything thus far, my career in photography and my career in graphic design, and I accepted a teaching job mid-COVID where somehow we taught virtually. And guess what I do now? I literally teach people online how to open up a coffee shop. And it's just all these things that kind of just orchestrated itself into place, and it just felt at peace. And it was not peaceful, but I was in peace because I really think because I was finally the first time in my purpose.
Wow. There's been more than a couple of episodes, and even like more recently, as I talked to other founders, that this whole thing about starting out and being naive was to their benefit. And I know it was to my benefit when I started out. Like, I think if I would have known, was to know the amount of challenges and how difficult it was going to be before I did it, probably would have prevented me from doing it. But there's something in the innocence of starting something when you don't know too much, that you come from a place of curiosity, and you come from a place of, well, how bad could it be? Because you don't even know what you don't know. And I think that innocence helps carry us through in that very beginning, where a lot of people get scared off if they know too much.
Oh, absolutely. And in this industry, be honest, coffee shops are like the telephone game. You just go online, you ask them what they put in this, what they put in that, and then all of a sudden you literally have the same recipes. We started from scratch. We started from obviously a palate that knew nothing about coffee, but learned from it. And I think then being a novice helped us because everyone's like, what do you guys put in this stuff? It's so different from everyone else, because it literally is different from everyone else, because we didn't have anywhere to start from. Someone who didn't know coffee developed your Yerbaño.
That's amazing.
Cool.
All right, Eric. So I want to ask you this. Obviously, you both were total alignment to start this. What did friends and family have to say when you told them you're opening a coffee business, considering the amount of coffee businesses that are, out there?
Yeah, I want to say, our friends and family are conservatives, right? So they are not very risk averse. So it's always like, what if this happens? I'm not sure I would go all in on that. Are you going to spend all of your, savings on this? So it was a lot of conversations around there. But if you know me and Destiny, one of the things we're risk takers. I'll roll it all on black quick. You know what I mean? Because another superpower that I have is me and Destiny went through a very dark time in our life, and we lost everything, and we rebuilt it from losing everything. And what that taught me is, as long as I'm alive, like, I can rebuild. You know what I mean? Like, you give me breath in my lungs, I will go remake it. I will go recreate it. So we going all in. So if I was listening to my friends and family, I probably wouldn't have started this. But me and Destiny, we are, we stick to each other. Like, she's got my back, I got her back.
Oh, that's so sweet. Destiny, what do you remember about friends and family and starting this up?
I mean, they were real supportive. Like I said, we sat there and I talked so much with names, and me and my brother-in-law, we looked at so many fonts that the normal eye, like, they literally are all the same. We're like, no, the spelling is different. But it was community. It was hearsay in the community. We're from a small town, about 6,000 people. There was not a coffee shop. And so, I mean, there was no sayers. There were people like, yeah, good luck. There's a reason there's not a coffee shop here, anyways. And that was the moment where I was like, hold my beer. I'm an absolute rebel. I'm going to make this work no matter what. And it's going to be way bigger than this small town mentality.
Wow. I am always going to bet on you two. You two, you guys are my people. Seriously. I would always bet on you.
Yeah.
Wow. Starting up something, of course, is never easy. We do have challenges. One of the things I love talking about on my show, and I talk about at my events and stuff, is in a very transparent and unfiltered way about things that don't go right. And I think there's lessons there. I would be wondering if you guys be willing to share maybe something when you started up that didn't go perfect and you figured it out. Any challenges or mistakes that were made along the way in the beginning?
We've got Lene.
Yeah, we probably both have our own, how we see it. But for me, it was partnerships, right? So when we first started out, I kind of mentioned that we started out by licensing our brand, and you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even understand the concept of licensing franchise. I just know that franchise cost a lot of money that I didn't have because we bootstrapped the entire thing. So I went with licensing deals. Well, what I realized is, by partnering with the wrong person will make you go backwards way faster than you went forward, right? So basically, we had these partnerships where we realized that the people that we brought on through, and it was only one, I had one bad license deal, right? And this license deal, this person come in and they did not have the same values as us, because me and Destiny, above all, we are energy people. We like to be around people that are going to have the same energy, that we're all going to thrive. We're going to have positive attitudes. We're going to see the glasses half full. When you bring somebody in that is a negative person and they don't see life like that, it's almost like an energy vampire, right? And not only that, I realized that you don't have protections in your brand by doing licensing. So partnering with the wrong people was a very important and early lesson that we were able to learn.
Destiny, what about you?
Yeah, I would agree. Partnerships were the biggest, kind of issues in the beginning, but anything that we do, like Eric said, we roll the dice pretty quickly. And so by the time you're thinking about making a partnership and maybe scaling, we've did it 10 times and screwed up 9. And so I love it because it's an L, but it was a learning experience. It definitely wasn't a loss. Like there's no hard feelings there, because now our next deal, we immediately become a franchise. And then our vetting process is so extensive. They come down, they drive or fly down, we go to dinner. I don't care about like all my shop stuff. I just want to vibe check you. Like, would I go on a 10-hour road trip with you? Do I mind eating dinner with you? That's my people. And that's the partnerships that I want in my company. We tell people no way more. Our salesperson is probably like, yes, amen. We tell people no way more than we tell people yes, because we know that we're still a baby. Yeah, we might have 7 locations, but we are in this nurturing part where I am so concerned about building my core group of people. And I want us all to have different gifts and talents. I mean, I want you to come to my franchise because I want to be support too. But what value are you bringing my core table? Because in 10 years, we're all going to be sitting at that round table. And I have to have people with different experiences and skills and talents at that table.
Absolutely. You know what I don't feel like enough franchisors talk about is the fact that the reason why we all franchise is it's a way of expanding our business. But we don't necessarily position that in our franchise opportunity. And so people that are coming into our franchise are really coming into our home. Mm-hmm. And we know we're working with them and we're a partnership. But to your point, you have 7 franchise owners, like they will make or break your business of the future. And that's why we always talk about that first 12 franchise owners, the first dozen are just so important culturally to making sure they're a right fit. And we know we do not hit a home run every time out. I know I had a bunch of strikeouts early on because, quite honestly, I thought the person that was right for my business was somebody that loves sports and kids, and I didn't think about the business acumen. And so the same for your business. Just because you love coffee has nothing to do with the business, whether you're going to be successful or not, as you know.
That's so funny you say that, because honestly, if they're like, oh my gosh, I've always dreamed of having a coffee shop, we're like, nope, next. It's not, it really isn't a core. I just lost half of our sellers, Eric, sorry. But it really isn't like, I don't want you to say that. Like, I want you to be community centered. I want you to be able to provide for your family. I want you to be able to have a servant heart to not just serve coffee, but to serve people at a different level, to really serve them light and love and let them see that through your hard work. Like, that's who we are looking for.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, because what you just said right there, you could relate it to any business with the caveat that you want them to have passion for that coffee business. In fact, you want them to be obsessed so that they're going to be successful. But all those things you said, we could apply to any product or service.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I love having the conversations when I start vetting people during, discovery days or before that. And it's like really learning about them, and the people that are at our table right now are those type of people, right? I mean, coffee is great. And I love going to the coffee shop every morning and seeing customers and giving high fives and just making people's day brighter and having genuine conversations. But before that, like, it's not about the coffee. It's about the community piece, like Destiny said, and then another thing that we want to make sure is, I want to make sure that you got a strategic mindset, right? Like, we're fixing to build a organization that can run like a sewing machine with you out of it, because we're not trying to sell jobs here. You know what I mean? And then that tells me that that person's going to own 2, 3, 4, 5.
Eric, was there a pivotal moment when you guys knew you guys were onto something big?
Yeah, I think a lot of people ask us, they say, how did you grow so fast? And sometimes I have to like stop and figure out like, where am I at? How many locations do I have? Like, it's been such a rocket ship, you know what I mean? But I think taking an audit of what we're doing inside of our organization, and here's the main KPI that I'm meaning is whenever I bring on a new team member for my operations, and then as soon as I get them trained up, let's say 3 months, and they learn my business, I'm already at a point to where I need to add another team member in the operations. That once I got to that, I was like, holy cow, like we're growing fast. You know what I mean? And that's exactly whenever I started really diving into business coaching, mentorship. Like I told you before this, like I consume your podcasts all the time. You know what I mean? Why? Because I'm trying to grow and I'm trying to learn. I'm not trying to be stagnant. And I realized that I have this brand and it's going really far, really fast. And me as the leader at the realm of this organization, I need to keep evolving so I can steer the ship.
Yeah. And Destiny, right? The company is going to look totally different. It looks totally different now than it looked from the very beginning. And with 7 franchise that are open, right? And you have 2 company owned, it's manageable right now. Like everything is, you're spinning a lot of plates, but it's okay. How many people are a part of your team right now?
We have, we have a director of operations, of course, Eric and I. We have our sales team. We probably have Eric, 6 or 7 people that kind of help out with corporate right now.
Yeah, I would say 6 full-time. Maybe some part-time helps.
That makes sense. Right now, you're kind of a man-on-man defense right now for every franchise opening.
Yes.
Soon you're going to drop back into a zone defense. You're going to have more franchise owners than they're going to be of you.
I love that.
And the game is going to change. And so, Eric, to your point about constantly evolving and changing, you're just going to look different as you go through the different life stages of a franchise. I like to relate it to like just as a human being, you go from this infant stage, which obviously you guys are no longer an infant. You're now in the toddler stage. And well, toddlers get into more trouble than infants, right? And so, you're going to continue to grow. And then we're going to go into the teenage stage and things are going to start growing even faster. And teenagers go faster and take more risk. And, that's where you'll be putting more systems and processes in. And it'll constantly evolve. From the touchy-feely side of things, though, Destiny, what do you think makes your concept different in a cluttered coffee industry?
Oh yeah. The industry is definitely saturated. And I mean, you could think of the top handful of big box brands that are pretty dominant in this market. I don't even have to name them, but I want you to take a second to think about how do you feel, or like, why do you go to that coffee shop? Convenience, is the top of my mind, probably. They're at every corner. They usually have a drive-through. It's not really because that brand represents your values or who you are. You don't really feel good. I mean, you get the coffee, yeah, but you don't feel good. There's not something deeper than just the taste of the coffee. It's just quick and convenience. And I think we came and we kind of disrupted the industry with not only our way to deploy our mobile marketing plan. A lot of those big box stores don't have a mobile concept to deploy into communities. We are so focused on grassroots marketing. It's insane. I don't think we have any other marketing concept besides that. We are so plugged into the community that, you can come in as someone who's like Eric and I, we're transplants. We're not from Alabama, but if you were to ask anyone, they wouldn't know any different. They would think that we were raised in this community because of how involved we are. And I think that sets us apart extremely. And that's what's going to make these bigger box stores, start getting nervous here soon. And I've watched some podcasts and heard of, some CEOs doing different things for these bigger companies. And they're all things that we have been doing the last 3 years. I'm like, dude, y'all are like 3 years behind.
That's fantastic. You both are doing something that is so smart, but so scary to people who aren't doing it. And that is you decided to focus on just the grassroots marketing, where to other people that are doing that, they feel like, well, I'm not sure if that's where I need to be. And maybe I need to spend a whole lot of money and trying to kind of blast everybody. And what you guys are essentially saying is, no, we're going to own grassroots marketing. Like that's how you win in any business. You have to focus on one thing and freaking be great at it, as opposed to having the fear of, I'm not going to be successful, so I have to be everything to everybody and try lots of things. There's no trying. If you dabble in lots of different things, you're not going to get anywhere. Pick a category, pick something and own it. And owning the grassroots marketing of being in the community, that is a huge difference maker.
Yeah. And it's honestly, it's the scarier of the two.
Yes.
It's so easy to sit behind some paid ads, click and send it to everyone. It is so hard to walk up to someone and say, hey, my name's Destiny. I'm opening up a new coffee shop. I can bring so much value to your hospital and serve your employees. I'd love to do a pop-up. How many no's did I get? I probably got half no's and I did yes, but those yeses, those are such amazing advocates for my brand. And that's so scary to put yourself, be vulnerable and just put yourself into the community and let people judge you and vibe check you. But it's a massive payoff.
Yeah. Yeah. Eric, I always tell people there's only two ways of marketing, either spend time or money, but you can't get away with, neither one.
Yeah, I would say for us, again, we make decisions based on our experiences. And right after COVID, when we were starting this business, I remember going to Walmart. And when we were in Walmart, I had to do the self-checkout. And there was something wrong with one of the items I was checking out. And I had to sit there and wait for like 10 minutes for someone to come over because there was nobody there helping me. Right then, I thought to myself, man, having that conversation with that person checking me out, I missed that. That was valuable. And it clicked right there. It's like, hey, if I was focused on just trying to sell coffee and make money, I'd probably do the whole marketing piece because it would be faster and it'd probably make me more money. But I treat people how I want to be treated. And the way I want to be treated is I want to have a conversation with somebody. I want somebody to make me feel valued. So we built our whole entire company on that community aspect. Whenever I seen big box stores automating everything, I said, you know what? Let's go the other way, right? Let's fill the gap. Let's not automate. Let's have this personal connection and touch with people. And honestly, I think it's been one of the number one contributors to our success.
That's super smart. In terms of franchise locations, so you mentioned you have 7. Where are they located?
Yeah, so that's one of those things where I can go back to the drawing board. Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, and we have 2 in Utah.
Okay, and are they in smaller communities or big cities? I'm just want to get a sense of where you're putting these so far.
Yeah, so far, the mid-sized markets, what we've seen be very, very successful is you think about like these populations in these towns with 15 to 20,000 people where Starbucks probably, it's too small for them to go, right? We go set up there and do phenomenally well. We're also fixing to launch in Atlanta, Georgia. It's the biggest place that we have, set our sights on and currently opening. But those mid-sized markets definitely have been performing very, very well.
It's the sweet spot. And more emerging founders that I'm talking with are particularly putting their concepts in those smaller to mid-sized markets and owning that community as opposed to competing with the big boys. Like, you don't need to. We're in a huge country. There's a lot of places to go. And in your case, people drink coffee everywhere. Destiny, are there some certain markets, though, you're really excited you want to get into?
Yeah, so our end goal is somewhere as close to the water, the beach. That's where we'll end up retiring, we say. And so we've been already just kind of getting brand awareness down there, making sure that we're involved in some of the events and things like that. Not really serving coffee, but just getting our brand out there and people letting us, vibe check us. And so I'd love to have more in Florida. That's kind of my ideal location. We always say that we selfishly just open Grit Grinds everywhere we want a vacation. So when my son graduates, we're going to get in a van and we're going to go check on our locations and just drive throughout the U.S. And so, Atlanta's going to be a fun one. We love Utah, St. George over there, Hurricane. It's really close to Zion. That's always an amazing work trip. Santa Fe, Texas. We love our crew over there. So the trend's already there. We have one in our hometown, so we could go home. And so it's all places that we generally enjoy, probably being outside.
I would say though, instead of like areas, we're really focused on trying to find those people. You know what I mean? Like it's the Utah place, right? The Utah is out of my buy box, right? It's out of my territory zone that I was focused on, but we have Utah because of the people in Utah. So it's more focused on the people, and then we'll put the grit and grind wherever the people are.
Sure. That's the right way to go about it. Since you have 7 franchises, but you're in 5 states. I'm wondering, where did you find these people since they're spread out all over the place?
Yeah. So that original one, they knew us from social media from our hometown. And that, like I said, they reached out. So that one came from there. And then everything has been organic. That's what's crazy about it. So this one person that knew them, that had a conversation with them, reached out to us. And it's kind of happened exactly like that. Our Utah people, we're a part of a business mastermind. We were in there and that's how we kind of got plugged in with them. But I'm telling you, everything up until this point has been word of mouth.
We do a really good job on social media about putting our brand story. Of course, that's the brand and marketer in me. It was going to come out sooner or later, but that's how Jordan found us. She just watched, we shared every bit of our story, the good, the bad, the crying because we were supposed to do an event Friday and the health department said no. Like we were just super transparent and we were real relatable, I guess. And people are like, I see what you're doing and it's bigger than just coffee. I want to be a part of this. Like there's something different about you. And Jordan's the same way. Our first licensee or franchisee, and then Trey, our second, seeing what she was doing was like, man, there's something different about this. And both had completely other careers that they've worked their entire life on creating. One was she has a doctorate. She's a teacher. Trey was full-blown law enforcement. And both of them, the coolest thing is helping someone write their 2-week notice to like their lifelong career. It's the coolest thing. But yeah.
That is, yeah, you're changing people's lives.
100%. I even, we talk about how much we partner with people because of who they are, but also you think about it. I didn't get into coffee because of coffee. I got into coffee because it was a financially smart investment to be in. And so whenever you can really, it's all about collaboration. Like when you have both of those things, when you have a purpose-filled business model, it is financially profitable. It's like, what better is there?
Yeah, for sure. What's the investment range for a franchise?
So our mobile concept started at 115,000 and then brick and mortar started at right around 250,000. Still way below industry standards. We are very firm believers and like, I'm not going to nickel and dime people. Like I'm trying to bring you in and I'm trying to make you as profitable as I can be because again, you are my testimony.
Yeah. So how many of your current franchises are brick and mortar versus mobile?
What do you think? This is about 50-50, huh?
Yeah.
I think,
yeah.
We have 5, so we have 9 open right now and a couple that are getting ready to open. About 4 of those are mobile and then 4 of those are brick and mortar. The rest are mobile. But when we say mobile, our concept's a little bit different. When you think about other mobile concepts, it's like, hey, I go to this festival every weekend or I'm moving around. We have these mobile concept trailers. They usually go to a stationary, parking lot, stay there. That's their main headquarters. And then they deploy into the community at a limited time basis. We have trailers that some of them, they never even move. They're complete drive-through. So almost like they took that real estate piece and then they took the cost, made it way less, and now it's permanent location.
I'm curious on what you think the future is going to look like, just as a trend. Do you think you're going to see more brick and mortar or more mobile, or will it come down to the market of where that location is, like something maybe a little more city-like? Obviously, mobile may play well, whereas the brick and mortar might be in a smaller market that they can handle. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So initially we think that the mobile is going to be about 60% and brick and mortars are going to be about 40%. And when we say brick and mortars, we're looking at building stationary kind of hut drive-throughs plus full-blown cafes. That's built into that 40%. I think that the market, especially you think about the economy right now, right? An investor, they're thinking about the risk. They're thinking about their exit strategy. And when you start thinking about all of those things, the mobile concept makes a lot of sense.
It does, especially in this day and age right now with interest rates high, construction costs are what they are, that you're giving people an alternative that, I don't want to say you're recession resistant, but you're putting yourself in a really good position with the economy that you can pivot much easier and do much more mobile regardless of what happens in the brick and mortar and construction.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that we really love about the mobile is you think about what's the next biggest cost when in any business, it's going to be people, it's going to be payroll and things like that, right? So the training aspect, as far as going from a mobile to a brick and mortar, like those people and that team that you just trained to be in a mobile transitions very well into a brick and mortar.
Are you guys open to manager operated units, or strictly you have to be an owner operator?
No, we are 100% on board with manager operators because hey, if you want to be in there serving coffee, that's great. But I don't want you to have to be in there serving coffee, right? We're not buying a job. We're buying a business.
That's smart. Well, Destiny, you still get kind of the best of both worlds. We're getting somebody that's the right franchise owner, yet we're keeping them focused on the business and not on the I like coffee. As a reason for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of our owners, some dabble in there. They go in and out, and it's really cool to see because they'll just call me and say, send pictures of them with their kids at the beach. I'm like, that makes me so proud that they're not in there. Because at the beginning of it, when you launch any location, like, of course, a lot of our owners are very purpose driven and they're in there a lot. They want to know the metrics. They want to see, okay, if someone says we did, 200 tickets today, what does that look like? Feel the flow of it and not just take someone's word for it. And the trend is about what, Eric? 6 months into after grand opening, the owners are already calling us opening their second location or curious about a brick and mortar. And then we transition and we send that mobile unit to the next city over where they eventually want to put a brick and mortar, and we create. And that's our first two are working on. Jordan's opening up her third location Saturday.
Yeah, this Saturday.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
In less than 2 years. It's
That's
pretty wild.
super impressive. How big is the territory? Or I should say, how close are locations would they be from one another?
Yeah, territories, we got mobile and brick and mortars, which 25,000 and 50,000 is kind of like our metric, our guiding compass. But however, we do look at each market and kind of move those numbers around a little bit.
That's very generous, as a matter of fact, territory wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our goal is for someone to have the mobile and brick and mortar all in that one territory. So basically two business models running out of one territory.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay. So you guys started out by licensing, then you went franchising. Was it something you learned in the franchise process that surprised you?
The franchise process, honestly, franchising is like an onion. You pull back a layer and there's a whole new world there. So, we learn things every single day. But I think that the biggest thing is franchising. What we've learned is it's a tool, right? And most people think about franchise. Me and Destiny, we're keynote speakers in a coffee conference, and we go and we help other coffee entrepreneurs. And one of the things that we get asked often, it's like, hey, I want to franchise my brand. I'm looking to franchise, and things like that. A lot of people, myself included, had this misconception that you start a franchise, guess what? People just come and give you money and they buy it. That's not how that works, right? It's completely opposite. You have to have a whole team. You got to look at it as a business model. And I guess that's one of the biggest learning things that I had to figure out is this is a whole separate business. I have to have a whole support team for all of these franchisees that are now looking at me to help them with their business. And I didn't fully understand that before franchising. And I think it was a beautiful lesson, and I just didn't understand it fully.
Yeah, franchising is definitely not a quick fix to making money as a franchisor.
Yeah. And you could overpromise and underdeliver, but then that's just going to burn out very quickly.
Oh yeah, it'll catch up to you. What are you guys' thoughts about opening more company-owned locations? Are you committed to all franchising, or are you open to more company-owned spots?
We're open to both, honestly. We look for deals. My little boy, he was looking for a truck. He's 16, and he was like, "Hey, I want this Chevy 1500." I'm like, "We'll buy whatever we get the good deal on." You know what I mean? So it's kind of like company owned, and franchising is like the right person comes, or if a building comes available, all options are on the table.
Yeah.
What are your two company-owned locations? Are they mobile or brick and mortar?
So one of them is mobile. One of them is in a kiosk inside of a college. And so brick and mortar for one, and then the mobile one, it never leaves. Think about it as like it's a permanent spot at a food truck park, that type of mobile.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Destiny, where are we taking this brand over the next 5 years?
Oh man. So we're actually building out our massive headquarters in Andalusia right now, where Eric said we created a food truck park. So that is the next massive big step for us, because we need somewhere to bring in our owners, to train them, just to have annual meetups and hang out and of course serve the community. But more than anything, just be a staple piece, a flagship where people can come in and see the vision that we have. It's kind of hard with just introduce the mobile. We can take them to the mobile and they kind of get an idea of it. But I think as soon as we open up this flagship, it's just as soon as you enter, you're gonna feel every single thing that our brand stands for.
Wow. I want to come hang out at the flagship and drink some coffee and chat with you guys.
You're
Come
welcome,
on.
dude. We're going to have a podcast studio in the new headquarters.
You should. You guys both be great at it. I can tell. I can tell for sure. What trends? I mean, I know you're new to coffee and the industry, but obviously you guys are so well read, and heck, you're keynote speakers at coffee conferences already. Is there any trends that you're seeing in the coffee business that has evolved over the past, I don't know, 5 years or so, or tastes that are changing from the consumer that you guys are adapting?
Oh, the mobile. When we started this just 3 years ago, there wasn't another mobile coffee trailer probably within, I don't know, Eric, an hour from us. Same thing when our first franchisee opened. There was no one doing it. And now there's probably 7 other people close to us doing it. The mobile coffee space is booming. What do you have to say about that, Eric? What do you
I
think?
would say we're probably contributors to that because we're the type of people that we love paying it forward. So we created this Facebook group. It's a free one, and we help other entrepreneurs if they're interested in it. Some people aren't for grit and grind, right? They're not the right people, but I still want to help and I still want to give back. So I agree with Destiny. The coffee thing, as far as the way that I see our brand and the coffee industry, more or less our brand is, I'm going to be the Walmart of the coffee industry, right? Walmart didn't create grocery stores. Walmart came and revitalized grocery stores. They completely flipped it upside down on its head. That's what I'm going to do in the coffee industry. But other people in the coffee industry are seeing the same type of trends. We kind of talked about them, and it's like, hey, I need to be more personable. I need to create communities inside my own community based around coffee. And I believe that's what we are doing well. And we showcase that, and we do not hide, everything that we do, we're very transparent. And I see so many other small businesses that take that and run with it. And that's kind of what I'm seeing is building communities out.
Kind of leads me to a question, my favorite question for both of you. And that is, it's about legacy. What's the legacy you want to leave behind with this brand?
As far as legacy for me, we have one son, right? And, kind of going back to, we've been through a very dark time in our life. And what I want to do is I want to be remembered for somebody who was a positive force for society. And I believe that this business gives me that opportunity to do and give back and help others. It really does. And it's what I find the most joy and passion in, because if you think about it, literally in 2 decades, 2 generations, we're going to be forgotten. I'm going to be on a headstone somewhere, but it's the things that I do and that I add, the scholarships that I do, the parks that I build, what can I do in my community that is remembered forever? And I'm super thankful for this opportunity and this brand and this business model that we've created, because it kind of gives me a pedestal to be able to have the opportunities to do those things.
Wow. That gratitude and humility just shines through, Eric. That's beautiful. Destiny, what about you?
Yeah, we got told once that our core values were too simple and too shallow, but I think it makes it tangible. A lot of us overthink who we need to be, how to be a good person. Maybe we didn't have the best of role models, but if you just break down loving others, spreading light, and just working really hard, you can be a good person. And more than anything, you can show that to other people, and it gives them just a little bit of hope, because it is minimalist. It is tangible. It is just a few words, and it will change your life. But more importantly, it will change other people's life. You'll go change theirs. It's a domino effect. It's a snowball effect of what we've created. And it's really beautiful. And that's what I'm so excited to be able to look down from above in, 100 years and be like, man, we did a dang thing.
Damn. I'm huge fans of both of you. I am. I'm just absolutely. I'm so drawn to what you guys believe in and what you're doing, and I just want you to know I am absolutely a huge fan, and I am rooting for you guys to continue to succeed and continue to. I want to watch this happen. I'm going to watch this and really enjoy it. If someone was interested in learning more about the franchise, tell me, where would they go?
Yeah, they can go to our website. It's gritandgrind.coffee. You can find any information there. We're on all the social media channels. I mean, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Grit and Grind Coffee. You'll find us somewhere.
Wow. So it's gritandgrind.coffee, huh?
Yeah, .coffee. Yeah.
Wow. .coffee. I didn't know there was a .coffee. All right. Great. All right. Last question for both of you. I end every podcast, Eric, with the franchise tip jar, since the franchise community is so generous with sharing. So if a friend came to both of you and said, I'm looking to buy a franchise, another brand altogether, what would be a piece of advice you'd give them to making sure they're making a good decision?
What you got, Des?
Oh, it's just the normal. Does your core values align with their core values? You're not going to be able to change that. You're not going to be able to be like, well, two of them and then a little bit, in the gray area. No, it has to be fully committed to the core values, because that's the only way that relationship is going to blossom.
Yeah, we get, like I said, this question asked to us all the time when we go to Coffee Fest and other places. It's like, hey, I'm looking to either start or buy into a franchise. And it's a very similar question. And what I tell people is, number one, do your due diligence, right? You're going to need to pencil out, like, is it profitable? Like, is it a good business model? But after you do that due diligence phase, the most important thing is who's leading that company, and do you align values, personality, all those things with that person, because it's a partnership and it's a long-term one, not a short-term one. And I personally believe that is more important than anything else.
Great advice, Destiny, Eric. This was fantastic. I've enjoyed our time together, and I wish you guys all the best, continued success, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.